Okay, so Beth, it is 10:01 and Facebook does not seem to want to play nice, but whatever. What say we jump in?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do this. So, welcome everybody. Uh, Today our theme is Your Energy Manners. We originally entitled it Manager Your Energy Matters, but that's a little heavy handed. So we'll
Don't be.
just say Your Energy Matters, whether or not you're a manager or not. Um, Beth, we talk about energy a lot, and people talk about concepts such as how you show up, presence, a number of other things. But when we talk about energy, we are talking about literal physical energy. We are energetic beings. And that is not a bunch of woo. That is not a thing that is out there. It's not a metaphysical property at all. It is actually a neurochemical thing. We are neurochemical beings, and our actual physical bodies have an electrical current that runs through it. And you can see that electrical current when you do something like touch a smartphone. That is what activates the face of smartphones. Your actual electrical energy is what makes that work. You can see it when you get static electric shock. A number of ways that show that we have electrical current running through us, and that is a current that is activated and affected by our thoughts and our emotions. When our limbic system is activated, it affects how we emit actual physical energy. People can feel you before they can see you or hear you, and that is your electrical chemical properties. Beth,
Hmm.
do you want to say anything about that?
Well, I had an experience on Sunday where I just felt really, I don't know, just this weird energy all day long, like like jittery, really kind of overwhelmed, too much stimulus, I think, and just too much. It was really kind of a fear-based energy that I couldn't quite put my finger on. And I went to delete an app off my smartphone, and when I pushed on it to be able to delete it. If you have a smartphone, you might notice that the apps all start doing this. Like every single one of them start shaking, shaking, shaking. And like that was the energy that I was feeling in my cells, much like the smartphone energy was feeling. The challenge was that, unlike the smartphone, I couldn't just tap on the side and make everything stop shaking. So I had to find different ways to deal with the energy that I was feeling in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, so that is one of those kind of strange things that we think that we can control everything with our heads. Like we could think things um, into being the right way. We can logic things into being the right way. But the truth of the matter is that you're actually we're integrated beings. There's more to us than just our thoughts. Our emotions are much bigger than our thoughts. Our hearts emit a wave that extends 7 times beyond our bodies, more than 7 times more than the actual waves that our brains emit. It is a more ancient part of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is, based on research by the Heart Math Institute that, our hearts have a powerful emotional current that extends beyond our bodies that other people can feel. So your agitation, your happiness, your calm, you feeling distracted, all of those states affect your the energy that you actually emit, and other people can feel it. If a person has ever walked into the room and you felt like your hair stand on end, or you felt, like other sensations, that is their energy affecting you. And so it's a very real thing. And it can also activate people's sense of fight or flight. So your awareness of your own energy is very important. Beth, do you want to say anything about that?
Well, I just want to talk a little bit about one of the cornerstones of the navigating challenging dialogue work that we do is understanding that your body is set up, your brain, your whole entire body, to have your amygdala process all the stimuli that's coming all day long, right? And it puts it into a couple different buckets. It processes it really at the core based on good or bad. Do I need to do something with this stimuli that's coming in, or is it okay? And, in addition to those, we can label the buckets all kinds of things: safe or unsafe, healthy or unhealthy, authentic or inauthentic. And so, as what Sasha's talking about, somebody comes into the room and you feel inauthentic energy, or you feel energy that feels chaotic, or you don't quite get what it is, or as you enter the room and people feel that from you, their amygdala is going through a process of categorizing it. And if it goes into the shadow side, the dark side, the unsafe, unhealthy, not okay bucket, it tells your body that you need to go into some form of fight or flight, connect or disconnect, engage or not engage, freeze or connect, get away or stay. All those different things, whatever you want to call them. And so that's what we're talking about the energy that you bring to the room and how it shows up and how it impacts people around you.
Right. So you can't fake this, right? This is a thing that, people, you cannot fake this state of mind. People get advice like, you just got to be calm. You got to look like you're in control, and so people, okay, I'm going to be calm. I'm going to be calm. And, it's like they go into the room and they are anything but calm. They actually they emit less calm than when they go into the room without trying to be calm. That is, we call that incoherence, or even more basically, inauthenticity. This is the thing that you can feel. Somebody says something, but you can tell from everything they're emitting that is not the truth, right? It's not that they're like telling you an out and out lie, what we categorize as a lie, but there is something that they do not feel or believe about what it is they're saying, and it is being transmitted.
They're faking it.
Yeah, they're faking it, right? So like, if you're saying like, well, I have to, be strong for my team, I have to be calm for my team, I have to be all of these emotional states that you're not, this is, your team is going to know it, whether you say it or try to practice it or try to be something else. Your team is going to know it. So you cannot fake it. Coherence is when your heart is in sync with the rest of your being. Being out of sync is a real feeling, and other people pick up on it. So what can you do about this?
Can I just interject with one that we hear all the time lately?
Yes.
Because I think this is like probably top of mind for a lot of people right now.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go into this meeting with my team, and I want them to feel confident that we know what we're doing. We know what strategy we're going to be using. We know what's going to happen next. I want to project that for my team. But in the coaching session, what we're working on with that leader is they have no idea and they are freaking out. And the change they want to make is to be able to walk in the room and act like everything is fabulous, because they believe that behavior is going to calm down people, help people be calm, focus on their work, get the work done. And the truth of the matter is it's going to have the opposite effect. It's going to cause more chaos. So we're going to talk next about what you can do about that. But that right now is scenario number one that we are working on with people in our coaching.
Yeah, it is far more powerful to say that you don't know exactly what is going to happen next than to say that things are fine or that the thing that you think is a big deal isn't a big deal, say that, what you know about this, to say that what you do know and what you don't know is much stronger than denying any facts that are on the table, or trying to minimize it. People, it's like, this is where trust is built. It's like trust is built from truth telling.
Yes.
So, so here are the things that you can personally do to help manage your energy, when you're in, when you are in these situations where people are looking to you, for guidance, for leadership, and for a coherent answer. So the first thing is that you need to be aware of your own emotions, right? This goes back to everything Beth and I teach: awareness of your emotions. Like, what is, like taking time to check in with your body and to feel what is truly going on with you, listening to your heart, taking deep breaths, grounding yourself on the floor, and really sinking in to the real feelings that you're having. So first thing doing is like just being aware of where you are right now. And Beth, do you want to expand on that?
For me, it's telling the truth, right? Not in a I'm going to roll over and show my belly so you can eat my guts out way, but in just a factual way, telling yourself the truth first. This isn't even about telling anybody else the truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what is my big fear in this? What am I sad about? What am I disappointed about? And even taking, 3 or 4 minutes to sketch that out on a piece of paper. So the truth is in front of you versus all the story around what might be happening, what should be happening, all of those types of things. What's fear based? Just getting really clear with yourself, um, so that you can go into that room clean and clear. You can go into that dialogue clean and clear. It's really, this is the essential first step of charismatic leadership. This is it right here.
The second thing you do, building on what I said earlier, is really to try time, once you're aware of your emotions, to really take a moment to ground yourself and to be present with your emotions. Go back to taking the deep breaths, listening to your heart, and allowing yourself to feel like the pull of gravity anchoring you to the earth. Let it yourself feel literally grounded, so that all the emotions that you're having are contained in your presence, being present, not somewhere off in, speculation land, or, conjecture land, but just like, this is the truth of the moment. I feel myself attached to the earth. I feel my heart beating, my heart that has been with me since 8 weeks after conception, my breath that is always going in and out and has ever since I was born. To feel those things and to let yourself sink into that. And Beth, were you about to say something?
Well, and I think one thing that can happen when we are trying to push down the fact that we're uncomfortable, I don't even want to say panic, because sometimes it's just we're uncomfortable, right? And so one thing that can happen is we almost can disassociate from who's in the room, the person we're talking to, the situation at hand. And when we go into that place, the part of our brain that is doing creative problem solving, the part of our brain that's about collaboration and connection, and the part of our brain that is all about empathy is not present. It's not connected to the people that you are working with or the person that you're working with. So we want to stay in the moment and going through that practice of breathing in through our nose and then on the exhale, just letting go of anything that isn't going to serve us in this moment or this one or the next one. It's almost like you can take all the story, all the conjecture, all the fear, all the disappointment, and put it in a backpack and leave it outside this conversation. Then you can pick it up as soon as you're done. Anytime you want. It's all yours. You can have it all back. But for the time that you want to be present with authentic energy, you need to be in this moment, in this one, in this one.
So the third thing you can do is to be transparent.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to pretend you're feeling any other way than what you are. Be willing to share what's going on with you instead of pretending, because, in the absence of information, people will make stories. If people sense that what you're projecting is different than what you're saying, they are going to start creating their own reasons why that's happening. They're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, well, we're obviously all going to be laid off because, they're saying this, but I get the feeling that they're really just lining us up for the slaughter.
Mm-hmm.
The way you build trust is one behavior at a time and one conversation at a time. So how you show up for these conversations where people are looking to you, your transparency and a willingness to tell the truth about where you are is a powerful trust building activity. Cannot emphasize that enough. This, being transparent is how you build trust, and the trust is what you need to have people cooperate. If you want people to work together, trust is the foundation that is built on. You cannot do anything as a group without a foundation of trust, and that trust begins with you. Pretending, manipulating, diverting, suppressing, all of those things that people do to try to appear a certain way
Yes.
take huge amounts of energy. If you want to be exhausted all the time by having an emotional appearance of something other than is true, even if you fool people for a little while, you are going to come away from this feeling completely depleted. um, they are not also you're not going to get the outcome that you want. Even if you can fool them a little bit up front, you probably over time are not going to be able to fool them. You will not get the results that you want. So give yourself and everyone a break and be present, be transparent, and stop pretending. Be a good steward of your energy for the good of everyone, not just yourself, but for everyone on your team. Beth, do you have anything you want to add to that?
One question that I get all the time is, okay, you're telling me to be transparent. You're telling me to talk about my emotion. What does that mean? Right? Like, how do I do that? And I want to be crystal clear. This is about stating facts. When you share what's going on for you and you are being vulnerable, it's very fact based. If you're trying to elicit sympathy, if you're trying to get buy in, if you're trying to get anything by sharing, and I've seen so many leaders, and I did this back when I was like super dysfunctional leader. I'm mildly dysfunctional now, but then I was super dysfunctional, which is why I came up with this to save myself. Um, I would share what was going on for me, but my intention would be, I would say, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm so under pressure, I'm so exhausted, whatever it was. But it's because I wanted to drive my team to show up better and work harder. I'm wondering if any, no, I don't think any of my old team people are on here. 15 or 18 years later, we're still connected and we're still talking all the time because it's been such a great journey. So when you are being vulnerable and sharing what's going on for you, it's just a fact. Hey guys, I want to let you know I'm feeling kind of pressured by some things that are happening outside this room. So if you're curious about why I'm behaving the way I am, it's that. Hey folks, I want to let you know that my kid woke up with a temperature today And, I got one ear out for, a phone call from the doctor or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. I'm just having a crappy day. So many people all of us are like on this roller coaster of energy right now, right? Having a down energy day, just letting you know what's happening. There's nothing for them to do. You need to teach your team not to take care of you. And you also need to not try and make things better for the people on your team when they convey to you, when they begin in a fact-based way telling you what's happening for them. Each of us is responsible for managing our own energy.
Awesome.
End of
So,
sentence.
oh, sorry?
End of sentence.
End of sentence. Okay, awesome. So, Beth, we got a lot of questions this
I
week.
know, I'm so excited.
I am very, lots of good ones. And so if you have a question, maybe you didn't have a chance to put it in when you registered, but you have something you'd like us to respond to, just put it in the chat. I'm going to read the questions, and Beth and I are going to both work at answering them. So, Beth, are you ready?
I am super ready, and I love it. And so keep asking, please.
All right. Here we go. How do you gauge emotions of the staff as a whole with a large staff? Okay. All right. So how do you gauge the emotions of a large staff?
Let's see. You could do a pulse check at the beginning of a meeting. You could ask. You could set up a separate time that's not whatever the meeting is that you're having. That's just about everybody talking about how they're feeling. You could use a rating scale. You could use something really simple like back when I used to do way back 6 weeks ago, when I used to do a lot of in-person things. One of the things I used to love to do is get the I don't know how Home Depot felt about this, but the Pantone color chart things, and you can just cut the little pieces off, and you can say, hey, show me just quickly, we're going to do a whip around, show the color you're feeling today. What color represents how you're feeling today? I mean, my biggest question would be, I mean, there's really elaborate things you could do. You can do employee engagement surveys, right? But what is it that you're trying to find out through this? I think that's the bigger question. Like, what do you want to know and why? And then formulating that from there. In my opinion, and I'm going to ask Sasha to weigh in about 20 seconds, but in my opinion, the only reason you want to know how your employees are feeling is so you can empower them to begin being responsible for the energy they're bringing to the room. That's the whole reason. Being aware of it, having an opportunity to speak it out, and then doing their work to work on
it. I think the magic of asking is always the best place to start, because I don't know about you, Beth, I do not have the psychic ability to read a person's expression or how they're showing up and to determine what specific emotion they're having. I've found that asking is simply the most productive thing to do. And to see what we can, and to just simply have that be there, so we can all be present and not have anything burdening the conversation but through pretending.
You can also simply ask them, you can use that, like something like the backpack example that I used, and say, okay, we're going to begin this meeting, and I'm going to ask you to reflect on whatever energy you're bringing to this room, whatever happened in the hour before, the 5 minutes before, whatever's present on your mind, and we're going to set it outside for right now. And you can pick it up when we leave. But for this time, we want to have clear and clean energy. And so helping people to be able to understand how to not drag everything forward into this moment and this moment and this moment. If you're really looking for a bigger scale, like do people like working here? Do people enjoy their work? Do they feel fulfilled? I would say go with a employee engagement survey. The challenge with that is that people are going to expect that you are then going to do something with the results. So you need to communicate the context and the why crystal clear, or they're going to say, hey, I filled that out and I said I wanted pizza 3 times a week delivered to my cubby and I didn't get that. What the heck?
Only 3 times a week?
Only 3, no more than
Only
3.
3.
That would be
Okay.
unreasonable.
Seems very reasonable. Okay, are we ready for the next one?
We are super ready.
Okay. How do you let someone know that the energy they are bringing to the room is negative or overwhelming?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Hmm. Are you wanting me to take the lead on that?
Well,
I,
you know what? I'd like to take a jump at this.
I would like it.
Um, so when we say somebody's bringing negative energy or overwhelming energy, what I think happens is that they are doing and saying things that feel negative or overwhelming. They are, the words they are choosing to use. Perhaps they're using sarcasm. Perhaps they're using, language that is quote negative language. Talking about the downside of things. Or perhaps they are speaking with a lot of volume or a lot of, like, rapid fire or something like that. And this all comes across in a certain way. Those are the physical manifestations of whatever it is that you're experiencing as negative and overwhelming. Or it could be something else. And so I would say, rather than say, hey, you're negative, you're bringing all kinds of negative, overwhelming energy, which immediately puts the person on the defense, I would ask a curious question saying, like, hey, I noticed that you're saying and doing these things. Can you share what's going on with you? For me, I'm having a hard time having a conversation with you. Can you please share with us what is happening? And to start the conversation from there, asking a curious question is a great way to find out what is really happening for a person, as opposed to putting you're bringing negative, overwhelming energy to the room. You negative,
Stop it.
overwhelming person, you.
Stop it.
Stop it. Stop making me uncomfortable.
Yes. I also, I want to just, because all of our work goes back to self, right? Self leadership, self management, emotional self awareness. And so my question would be, what are you making that mean? Like, that's the self reflection question. Huh. What am I making it mean when I say, and Sasha is great for coaching me on this. When I say, so and so's behaving in such a way and it's making me feel this way. And she's like, okay, what are you making their behavior mean? What does it mean to you? Why are you taking it personally? So asking the question without judgment, I'm curious what's happening for you in this moment because I'm not quite clear what's going on. But beforehand also doing your own work to figure out, what am I making that mean about me?
All right. Ready for the next one?
I am so ready.
So ready. My
I
favorite
live for that.
answer. Hang on a second. There it is. Okay. Um, During this time, how do we appropriately motivate um, people to achieve medium and low priorities, right? So not just working, how do you motivate people right now to work on medium and low priorities appropriately?
Appropriately.
Appropriately.
So I have a few questions, which I always do with this, but there's an assumption that people are not achieving medium to low priorities. And are they achieving just the big gigantic priorities? And so, it takes me back to a tool that I like to use, which is, you may or may not be able to see it. We'll see. Can you see that? Where am I?
I see a circle, and
Inside of
it's
another.
surrounded by another circle.
Correct.
Yes.
And so what's in the middle of the circle are the things that, like on a microscope, are super up close, right? Those are the things that we have the ability to impact, fully impact. We are in control of impacting those. Maybe those are your low priorities, maybe they're medium priorities, maybe they're high priorities. I don't know. And then we have the things that we have influence over, and then we have the things that we have no influence over. And so to begin to help people to understand during this time, because one thing that's happening is we are so overwhelmed by incoming stimuli, incoming information. We're living, most of us, most all of us right now, I think it's safe to say, are living on this vibration of kind of fear and the unknown, right? Like, it's going to be over next week. No, it isn't. Things are going to open next week. No, they're not. There's going to be a meat shortage. No, there isn't. There's going to be, it's safe to do this. No, it isn't. There's going to be a vaccine. No, there isn't. There's all kinds of stuff. We're going to be called back to work. No, we're not. So all of that is that incoming stimuli that's keeping us vibrating kind of here. So really getting tactical about with your people. Okay, I want to identify what are the things that you have absolute control over right now that you can impact. What are the things that you may have some influence over that you can impact? And these can be tasks, right? Like, for a school principal, it can be getting your curriculum ready for fall. You could do that, like with the assumption it's going to be online or offline. We don't know, in person or online. But you can begin getting your curriculum in place, right? For an employee that's working on a big strategic plan, and that was in place before COVID, like what components of the strategic plan do you have the ability to concretely work on? Are you empowered to work on right now? And then what can you influence, but it's outside the unknown. Like, we can't put together offsite meetings. We can't hold conferences if that's their job, right? So don't fret over those right now because we don't know, but work on what you know. Continue working on what you know. And then influence is, you could be looking at solutions for conferences that are going to be held online. You could be seeing what other people are doing about that. You could be exploring it. But we have no control over whether there will be conferences or in-person meetings and when that will happen. So don't spend your time in that question. And I think just touching base on those 3 tiers is going to be super helpful. But at the end of the day, you have no control over anybody else's motivation. As a leader, when you begin to believe that you are responsible for whether your people are motivated or not motivated, you're going to get burnt out, you're going to get disappointed, you're going to get frustrated, you're going to get resentful. I'm doing everything to motivate you and you're still not motivated. Motivation is intrinsic. The research shows that when we give rewards, concrete rewards for motivation, what happens is people who are kind of fooling us or gaming us or not doing their best, the belief they walk away with is, I can fool people, I can game people, and I can get away with not doing my best and I still get a reward. The reward for motivation comes from inside. So checking in, how are you doing? How motivated are you feeling? What's exciting you today? What's inspiring you today? Where do you feel accomplished? What accomplishments are you making? Those are the kinds of questions you want to be asking. Sasha?
So I want to talk about a little bit more into this question, like motivating to achieve medium and low priorities. I don't think anyone should ever work on a low priority. Just like there's a reason why it's a low
Come on, let's hang the
priority.
low priorities.
So there are two ways to look at this question. It's like if it's a low priority, but what it actually is just something that needs to be done consistently over time, you need to reframe it as something that is tied to success, a consistent behavior that's tied to its success.
So good.
I have an example that I just love. There is a beautiful plant store in San Jose that I like to go and get plant and art from. And the proprietress of this store is always polishing the leaves of the plants. I mean, the place is immaculate. It's in an old building that otherwise, would look pretty run down, but she has somehow transformed it into this little tropical oasis in the middle of downtown San Jose. And, I just asked her about it. I said, wow, you have so many plants in here, yet I always see you polishing the leaves. And her thing is, I only have one chance to make an impression on people. And having the leaves be shiny and looking healthy is one of the ways that I, keep people attracted to this store. So even though it seems like, a quote low priority work, it's actually an important part of the look and feel of her store. It's just that it's something that feels menial. So instead of thinking, it's like, if it's actually just something that needs to be done consistently over time, you need to tie it to success. Anything that you need done, you need to tie it to overall success. If you can't do that, people are not going to work on it because it is actually going to be a low priority. If it doesn't seem important, if it's something that doesn't contribute to anything vital, why would you even focus on it?
100%.
Yeah, now or, when we're not in lockdown mode.
Yeah.
It's like this is a rule that you should always be using this measuring stick as to why you work on things. It is either tied to your success or it isn't. If it isn't tied to your success, drop it like a hot rock.
A friend of mine who just retired last year, posted the other day that she had this whole list of things she was going to do when she got time. And she realized now she's in quarantine and she's got up more time than she could possibly imagine, and she's still not doing them. So she took them off the list.
Nice.
She's like, yeah, it really wasn't about when I had time. It's just about that they're not important to me and I'm never going to do them. I'm like, that's perfect.
Okay, onward and upward. Managing the emotionally neediest employees. Those who should know by now, the answer is we don't know yet. So how can we help the emotionally neediest employees who should know already? We don't know yet.
Help me with that again. So the emotionally needy people.
Yeah. So that one person who every day shows up in your office and says, hey, that thing I asked you about yesterday? What's the status today?
Yeah.
And it could be that is being spurred by a kind of anxiety or existential question. I don't know. But I will believe I believe the person who asked that this is an emotionally needy person.
Yeah.
So how do you manage that, Beth?
Well, I just had a dialogue with someone. Oh God, I wish I could remember who it was, but I just had this. It doesn't matter for this call who it was, but they asked a very emotionally needy question, and it was a request for praise through self-deprecation, right? It was a thinly veiled request for acknowledgement through self-deprecation, which I perceive to be a very emotionally needy way for asking for feedback. And so my question back was, what would you need to hear to feel differently? What would you most need to hear right now to feel differently? And then going with what Sasha always recommends, which is okay, so if they say, well, I need to know when the start date is when we're all coming back in the office, or I need to know what the state budget's going to look like, or I need to know whatever, right? When school's going to start. Okay, I hear that you have a desire to know that, and this is what I can tell you that's true. This is what I don't know yet. And the third one is, and these are the things that are in discussion that I can't discuss with you yet. The answers aren't public knowledge, if in fact there is something, but just giving them the facts. And if they continue to be emotionally needy around it, then that's when you really have to set some boundaries, because you cannot make emotionally needy people feel not emotionally needy. That's their work, right? You can only do what you can do, which is deliver facts and deliver information, and they have to go back and do their own work around it. Sasha?
Yeah, so that's it, is like you can, the person who is quote emotionally needy, there's not much you can do about emotional neediness, right? And I say that falling back to the facts is basically, I don't even know that you have to say, you know, like if they ask you that question 10 times, you can just keep on saying, this is what I know, this is what I don't know, and this is what I can't talk about. And just fall back to that. I mean, you cannot control them. If you do not want them talking to you every day, you can say, you know, I'll give you a different answer in a week. I'll give you an update in a week, you know,
Yeah.
and set a different, you know, set a time to answer that question later, or set something else, but you cannot make them not be emotionally needy. That is not your domain.
And the thing about people who are emotionally needy is our story around it is they are draining my energy. The truth is, you are not creating a boundary. That's the reality. You're not upholding a boundary. You're not being firm and upholding a boundary. And the reason is because frequently we have a story that we don't want to upset emotionally needy people because they're so emotional, right? That's the reality. But the truth of it is that we don't want to experience the discomfort of them being uncomfortable when we say, I answered that for you yesterday with all the information I had. There are no new updates. And now I need to go back to working on what I'm working on. And you need to go back to working on your priorities. And we become fearful that we have some kind of power and control over their happiness, and we just negatively impacted that.
Right.
That's not true.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, next question. This is one of my favorite ones. How do I convey high energy when I'm drained physically and emotionally? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I'll bet that, you know, for the one person who asked this question, that there are like 1,000 other people who are wondering exactly the same thing. How do I look high
Oh,
energy when I'm running on fumes?
yes. Pharmaceuticals. No,
Pharmaceuticals, no.
I don't recommend that.
No, I do not recommend pharmaceuticals. Um, so Beth, a couple of things on this question is that, let's just assume that the person who asked this is doing everything they can to care for themselves, right? They're doing all
Yeah.
the things, all the self-care things that are available to them, eating as well as they can, getting as much rest as they can. If they're physically and emotionally drained, I'm thinking that, you know, even best efforts are not enough to meet the level of stress that they're under. So the question of conveying high energy when they have no energy is goes back to, you know, being authentic and telling telling the truth about what's going on. Um,
Yes.
yeah, being transparent about what is happening, thus making it safe for other people to be transparent about what's happening for them. What do you have to say about that, Beth?
I'm going to go back to this story. It's all about stories for me, but things that happen to me. So when I come off a training or a full day event, and I go into a restaurant, generally I'm by myself at that point. I just want to sit and have some food and get recharged. And I've kind of like been with people really intensely for 8 solid hours. And I go in there, and sometimes I get the perky server who believes it's their job to bring my energy up. They're going to do everything they can. They're going to tap dance all around me, right? How are you today? What have you been up to? Da da da. Oh my God, it is such a nightmare for me. And it makes me pull further inside myself. And I become like, instead of like low energy Beth, I become like grouchy, boundary, dragonized Beth. Like, I'm giving you nothing now. And and it really has made me aware that like me trying to raise my energy to raise other people's energy just is not the it's not a thing. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
not
a
a
good
thing.
thing. Right. Be where your energy is. Be authentic about it. What's the benefit of high energy to your team? What is the benefit of that? I mean, that's a rhetorical question, but it's a question I really want to invite every person who's wondering, how do I get to high energy for the sake of my team when I don't have high energy? What is the benefit of that? I mean, you're not a high school cheerleader trying to get the help the team get the basket. It's not that. So, what is the benefit of being high energy when other people aren't?
I mean, unless you're genuinely high energy. But I mean, it's like if you're not high energy, pretending that you are is a great way to feel even more fatigue and failure at not being that high energy person,
Yeah,
especially when there is probably somebody on your team who's holding back tears because they're so goddamn tired. Excuse my language, but yeah, I mean, it's like there's probably someone else who is so tired and they are wondering how do they show up as being, extremely energized and things like that. Telling the truth about how you feel, you're giving permission to somebody else to be authentic about how they feel. So go ahead and tell the truth.
yeah. Not
Yeah.
that energy. I mean, the importance of this, I can't say this enough, is decoding for them what's happening. So they're not creating a story like, oh wow, Beth's really mad at me today. She's like a little quiet. Something's going on. Maybe she got bad news about the budget, or maybe she's not. Everybody in that room or in that meeting is going to be telling a story about what your low energy means about them, because that's what
Mm-hmm.
we do,
Yeah.
right?
That's it.
Totally what we do. And
Mm-hmm.
so your job as a leader is to just say, hey guys, I'm a little low energy today. So we're just going to get through the work. And you'll probably get back to high energy and you'll get fed just through being real.
Yeah. You want to feel better? Just tell the truth.
Yeah, right. I love
Yeah.
that. That's going to be our new tagline. You
Yeah.
want
You
to
want
feel
to feel
better?
better? Tell the
Tell.
truth.
Pretty simple.
Okay.
I
All
love
right.
that
Onward.
question.
I would like to ask for a strategy to keep excitement and growth opportunities going, even when that seems humane to do so with fear all around.
Hmm.
Hmm. So this is an interesting question because the person who asks the question seems to acknowledge that when everybody's in fear, it seems a little inhumane to talk about excitement and growth. So why is it important to have excitement and growth when the truth of the matter is that people are in fear, is the thing that comes to mind immediately.
And what, you know, right now, and when people are in fear, the important work, if people are truly in fear, if you know they're in fear and you're not just guessing maybe they might be, but if you really know that they are, that is the time to get grounded in facts. When you are in fight or flight, when you're in panic mode, your best friend is assessing what is true in this moment. Because what's causing the fear and the panic is future tripping. Your stories about what might be true in the future, right? Oh God, I might get fired. My job might go away. I might become homeless. I might live under the bridge. Or experiences you had from the past. Oh, I remember the last time the principal walked in with this look on his face, 3 people got let go. Oh, yeah, I remember that. And look, here they are again. I remember the last time we had to fill out a thing saying how many hours we were spending on each project. I remember what happened. I got assigned duties I don't like. The things I liked got taken away from me. People, you want to keep people in facts. And that's why I say go to those 3 circles that I showed. What do we have control over? What's right in front of us that we can work on? What do we have influence over? And that might be where the growth and excitement comes from. And what are the total unknowns that we have no idea about? We have no ability to impact them. If you're trying to get people to work on a 5-year strategic plan for your company right now, I say that's not great work when people are in fear.
Yeah, it's not also not aligned with reality when things are not when you can't really look beyond the next week.
Yeah. But it is a great time to talk about how do we want to show up as a team?
Right.
What shifts or behavioral things? We have been in this great pause, as one of my clients calls it, the great pause, or shelter in place or quarantine, whatever's happening from you, work from home. We've been doing it for about 6 weeks now. It takes about 6 weeks to develop new behavioral patterns and to get comfortable with what was once uncomfortable. And now it's becoming comfortable, right? And so now that people are getting comfortable, what are some things that you are experiencing that you might want to bring back to the next phase, whatever that looks like? Some practices you've developed. What have you learned about when you work the best, about your organizational style, about passions you have? And have conversations about that kind of growth, the human growth, the personal growth, the leadership growth, the development of the people. Those kinds of conversations are fabulous to be having now.
So also I want to point out is that when you are in a crisis, and I would say that it is legit to say that what we are all going through globally is a crisis. How you respond under a crisis, that is the growth opportunity. That is where you grow. Everything else falls to the side when you are navigating through the unknown, where there is a genuine existential threat and you are called to work with other people to keep going. How
Yes.
you show up is how you grow. Um, it's, and if people decide they want to learn how to improve their Excel skills at this time, that's fine too. But really, the most important thing is how you show up as a team and how you respond to crisis. Everything else, there's a time and a place for everything else. pretending that this is a normal time where the normal pursuits of say professional development or like just positivity and excitement, that is not aligned with what is real.
Yeah.
So um, really, the time for right now is to fall back to how do you show up as a leader, how do you show up for your team, um, how do you foster team cohesion, authenticity, trust, and let the growth happen there.
I wanna interject two things. We did a call a couple weeks ago with parents who were challenged through homeschooling and having emotional challenges with their kids. And Todd Zimmendinger, who's on this call, who is a principal in Massachusetts at an elementary school, said the thing that made my heart sing. And he said, if what your kids learn through this period of time is that we can navigate tough times, that we can persevere through crisis, that we can treat each other well. And I'm ad-libbing what he said, but that was the essence of what I heard. Then you have taught them so much about how we show up. If your teams, if the people on your staff get to see how to manage through crisis, how to hold each other dear, how to treat each other with respect, how to really listen to each other and hear each other and support each other through this time and not become cannibalistic and, fall apart through it and take each other out, that is fabulous. That's the growth that you want to be shooting for. I also read an article in Fast Company this morning that was talking about what are the big outcomes from this time. And one thing that it talked about was that the employees who are going to rise to the top are the employees who are going to show that they can persevere and they can continue to do what's important during this time frame, that they can shift priorities and they can focus on what's important. They can let go of the drama. And I thought, wow, that is some really interesting feedback. Okay, Sasha, ready to rock
Okay,
and
so we've got 4 minutes left, and we have two questions that have to do with Zoom. Um, and so I would like it if we could try to answer them as one so that we can respect time. Are you down
roll?
with that, Beth? Okay,
Yeah, I'm
cool.
totally down.
So the two questions are, how do we help them, and I imagine them as their staff, maintain energy and decrease Zoom fatigue, coupled with what is the best way to do supervision via Zoom? So this virtual way that we're all operating in, how do you keep the energy up so that people aren't exhausted from being online, and how do you still supervise when you're in the Zoom world?
Well, my question around the supervision one is like, what's different from when you're looking at them physically in your same building or in your same environment, right? So what's different? Because I don't imagine that you're like physically eyeballing them all day, or maybe you are. I'm not sure. If you are, that's a bigger question that we probably need to have a conversation about. But how do you supervise through Zoom? I mean, I would the same way you do really good supervision, which is through coaching questions. What's happening today for you? What's going really well? What do you need help with? Are you having any challenges? Um, those types of things. We try and check in through. We use Slack as a messenger. We try and check in. These are my priorities today. This is what my hit list is. This is where I'm stuck. Just communication, open-ended, curious communication. But staring at somebody isn't going to get you. It's not getting you anymore on the supervision level. So I'm uncertain about the question. It's also understanding you need to now operate from the place and go back. I can't remember. I think it was the first one of these that we did and listen to that. But we talk about outcomes, not hours in the seat. In this time, in virtual working, it's about what outcomes are getting done, not about how many hours is someone sitting at their desk.
Everybody's behaviors that they had in the office, they're taking those behaviors home with them. So,
And
you
so
know,
are you.
and so, yeah, and so are you. So there are no quote new things. It's basically the same thing. It's just that you don't have the luxury of seeing them or stopping by their cube or whatever. Um, so, the same thing with in-person meetings. It's like, be respectful of people's time, use it well, realize that there's a different cadence to working at home than there is in the office. But, keep your eye on what are the most important priorities and outcomes for your organization and focus on those. And if people are blocked, work on the block. Don't try to monitor people too much because it will not get you where you want to go, and it's just going to make people feel nervous and anxious.
And I would do a critical assessment on what meetings you're having and why. Because just because you had a meeting every Monday at 9 o'clock in the office doesn't mean that it's still a valuable meeting, right? What is it that you want to get out of it and why are you having it? And are there different ways to get that information that you need? Um, so you don't just think that this time is about replicating what you did in the office and now just doing it online. It's different than that. It's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So Beth, that's it.
Cool.
Those are all the
Wow.
questions.
Yeah. Patty said she loves what is going well for you today. It's a fabulous question. What is
Yeah.
going well for you today? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, we finished at 11. I'm slightly shocked and I barely know what to do with myself because this is usually when I apologize that we're going to run over. So I feel kind of good. What am I
So
doing well today? We're on time.
we're on time.
We're
So
on.
just remember, all the replays and handouts for this series can be found at ncdsolution.com/managing. You can register for the next one there also.
Yeah.
So it was great having you all. We hope to see more of you next time. And you guys are the best. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. We
We
love
love
doing.
connecting with you.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care, guys. Bye.